Hello friends, welcome to Star Explainer. Tales of Herding Gods Part 415 explains based on novel. So let's start explanation. The Crown Prince of the East Palace led the way, as Qin Mu leisurely walked around, whilst driving Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. There were countless beauties in the chambers of concubines, which caused him to forget about returning. The chambers were beautiful and plentiful. One would find beautiful, enchanting, and gentle ladies' love nests wherever they chose to go. It sure was a leisurely place. Qin Mu looked at the roads and shook his head. Celestial Emperor knew too much about indulgence. After his death, it wasn't him indulging, but the 10 celestial venerables. Did he leave behind kids? If so, who are the kids' mothers? His curiosity overpowered him. Despite the perilous circumstances around him, which could cause him to die, he couldn't help but let his thoughts run wild, causing him to step on thin ice. Finally, the Crown Prince of the East Palace brought him to the forbidden area of the Chambers of Concubines. There were few people present since statues of ancient gods watched over it. Every stone statue they walked past became a living, breathing body. They wielded various divine weapons and bowed to pay their respects. Qin Mu looked at them. These gods were extremely powerful, and had great essences and blood. They could be at peak condition in an instant after coming out of a petrified state. These warriors should be from one of the 10 celestial heavens guards, tasked with guarding the forbidden area. Qin Mu's heart became cold. The 10 guards of the celestial heavens, namely the left and right feather forest, left and right dragon marshal, left and right divine marshal, left and right divine stratagem, and left and right divine, or, only chose the most powerful gods and devils available. One had to be of the Jade Capital realm to even be considered. The power of the gods and devils on guard there was extremely terrifying. Their divine weapons weren't regular either. They all contained the great Tao of an ancient god, which, when combined, could form an ancient god form to unleash terrifying power. Even Heaven Duke was made out of the 49 heavenly Tao. Yet, there were at least 10,000 gods and devils and divine weapons there. Although the combined divine weapons couldn't compete with a real ancient god, there were so many of them that it was still strong. The ancient celestial emperor placed a lot of emphasis here. Have other celestial venerables been here before? Qin Mu walked forward and thought, of course, those celestial venerables wouldn't let go of Celestial Emperor's birthplace. This place was likely searched countless times. At the front, the Crown Prince of the East Palace stopped and bowed. Father, the forbidden area is in front. I dare not enter. Qin Mu walked up and smiled. Why don't you dare to do so when your father lets you in? A melody came into his ear. It was an extremely marvelous Tao rhythm, the Tao reverberation. Qin Mu heard it and suddenly understood Celestial Emperor's great Tao runes that he couldn't comprehend previously. The secrets within them flowed into his ear along with the melody as marvelous information. He obtained a lot of Celestial Emperor's great Tao runes from the Guardian Pavilion. However, these runes were too profound, which made them hard to understand. Hence, Qin Mu put more of his effort towards the ancient gods' great Tao runes, particularly Heaven Duke's. He solved his runes the most before using the computational canon of Supreme Molecule to recalculate them. Thus, he also obtained the most from him. He solved only a few of Celestial Emperor's great Tao runes. Celestial Emperor was the strongest practitioner among the ancient gods. He controlled the existence of the 10,000 paths, and had the most profound great Tao runes. Thus, the Celestial Heavens Tao sect and Tao ancestor put in the most effort for his runes. It was difficult for Qin Mu to decipher Celestial Emperor's great Tao runes even after entering the path via dreams, and learning Brahma Buddha's Boundless Calamity Sutra. Unexpectedly, via some Tao melodies, he solved some of the hard-to-understand great Tao runes before entering the forbidden area of Celestial Emperor's birthplace. It was truly extraordinary. He looked forward and daydreamed for a little bit as the rainbow from the sunlight was cleansed by the curly gas that it was entangled with. Their combined illumination was faint. The purple in the rainbow seemed real. The Tao melody came from the rainbow. Weirdly enough, although not seeming big, the space in the area became vast as he walked on. Rainbows gently swayed around them like a grand purple light waterfall. The ancient celestial emperor was born here. Qin Mu felt his great Tao melody as more of the runes were deciphered. He felt relieved. The purple light and gas flowed in a regular pattern. Some looked like a mountain that one could walk on, some looked like a celestial river that fluttered, and some of the purple light hid countless rays of starlight, as if there was a galaxy within that sometimes became a star ring or a jade buckle. Some of the light and gas formed linking landmasses. They walked on it as if it was real. On these landmasses, all sorts of weird trees and flowers were also formed. The Tao melody that entered was marvelous and mysterious. Even more marvelous was how, after breathing the light and gas there, Qin Mu felt that his own vital qi had become purer. This was a supreme holy cultivation site filled with supreme power. Suddenly, the crown prince of the East Palace gave a cold humph. His legs were bloody, corroded by the light and gas. This light and gas contained the purest of great Taos. Walking in caused him to be attacked by it. It was already extraordinary for him to be there, which was expected of a being who took down red deity Qi Xiaoyu. Your cultivation is too weak. Qin Mu shook his head and said, Father allowed you here to benefit you by having you raise your cultivation level and power so that you could become his right-hand man. Unfortunately, you disappointed him. The crown prince of the East Palace was ashamed and looked down, saying, I'm too weak to help carry some of Father's burdens. Qin Mu continued on, saying, the deeper we go, the greater the stress on your body. Retreat to a safer place and cultivate, for a while using this place's spirit power. Don't disappoint me. The crown prince of the East Palace was happy, as he retreated to a safe place to cultivate. Qin Mu's gaze fell on the center of Celestial Emperor's birthplace. The purple gas was dense there, and something with a great power of attraction floated in it. We will know whether the ancient Celestial Emperor and the ancient gods were born naturally, or made by masters of creation via visualization when we reach there. He felt the pulsating great Tao. It was deep and long, which allowed him to feel more and more of the marvels of Celestial Emperor's great Tao. It allowed him to solve more of it too. Countless bits of mysterious information flooded in, which became knowledge in his brain. He obtained the knowledge of the spirit ancestors of the masters of creation in the parameter world's ancestor spirit world. However, they didn't have memories pertaining to the creation of the ancient gods. During the great ruin of the primordial era, most of the masters of creation were eliminated by the ancient gods, causing the passing down of their civilization to be interrupted. Add to that the incident of the Grand Emperor's invasion of the Great Void, and the masters of creation had many parts missing in what they inherited. Qin Mu suspected that the masters of creation created the ancient gods, which eliminated them, because of the ruins he saw at the blood rust zone. However, this was merely his theory. He had to see the birthplace of the ancient celestial emperor for himself to know the specifics. It was only at the deepest part of the purple light that one could learn the secret. Qin Mu could hardly suppress his excitement. This secret could only be known to the 10 celestial venerables and the ancient celestial emperor. Now, he would know too. He continued on and got closer to that bunch of purple gas and light. Suddenly, Qin Mu stopped and frowned when he saw the toes of Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. The extremely powerful corporeal body and legs were cut by the light and gas. The muscles on the legs became thin after the terrifying pressure. After all, this isn't the ancient Celestial Emperor's real corporeal body, only a replica created by the Patriarch Creation Palace's creation divine weapon. It can hardly compare to the real Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. Qin Mu frowned. Celestial Emperor's corporeal body was formed out of his great Taos. The great Tao runes that the Tao sect of the celestial heavens researched were carved in accordance with macroscopic algebra, and were without microscopic algebra. Creating Celestial Emperor's corporeal body that way caused it to pale in comparison to the real one in terms of strength or power level. Once it reached there, the replica found it hard to sustain itself. Qin Mu tried to move the 2,000 places of strength in it, reducing the great Tao pressure. However, he was unsure if he could walk there. He looked around and was slightly stunned. Looking from where he was, he could see Xuandu, Yudu, and even the primordial realm. Not only that, but the four poles of the universe and all of the heavens were in his sight. They were crystal clear, as if within touching distance. Qin Mu groaned and looked at the purple bunch of light far away. He could faintly see the outline of the thing in the bunch of light. It was like a cracked egg. However, beneath it was something obstructed by the purple light. The Crown Prince of the East Palace sat at the edge of Celestial Emperor's birthplace, and used the light and gas to slowly cultivate. He felt that his stagnant cultivation was rising, which delighted him. He looked at Qin Mu, who was deep within the forbidden zone, and thought, "Father neglected the other princes and me for 40,000 years. I now know about the frustrations he faced. He took on so much stress over the years to protect us after all." Suddenly, doubt spread across his face. Why has father stopped? He looked at Qin Mu deep in the forbidden area with a mortified expression that only grew in severity. He saw how, just like his own legs, Celestial Emperor's legs were cut by the light at his birthplace. He felt a chill run down his spine. There was no way that the real ancient Celestial Emperor could be cut by the light at his own birthplace. He can't be father. A terrifying thought was birthed in his heart. Under his gaze, Qin Mu continued moving towards that purple light and gas. His legs became a mushy mess of blood and flesh, and the imposing body of Celestial Emperor began to contort under the terrifying pressure of the great Tao there. His muscles began to contract as his corporeal body shrank. Even Qin Mu, who hid between the brows of Celestial Emperor's corporeal body, felt the Tao pressure seeping into Celestial Emperor's body, pressuring him. It was so strong that if he exposed himself outside, he would instantly be incinerated to ashes and cease to exist. "I can't walk forward anymore." Qin Mu stopped and used Celestial Emperor's eyes to look at the purple light. It was too blurry for him to see what was beneath the eggshell. Since his corporeal body's eyes aren't useful, I'll use my own. Open. Qin Mu used the power in Celestial Emperor's body to shield the heart of his brows. It cracked open, and his real body appeared. He opened his third eye to look at the thing in the purple light. His heart shuddered when he saw that the thing that was drowning in dense purple light beneath the cracked eggshell was an ancient sacrificial altar. The sacrificial altar seemed to have a mysterious power that led the great Tao of heaven and earth to coalesce in its center. Many dense and complicated rune imprints were being imprinted on the cracked eggshell by the light and gas. The imprint on the eggshell was marvelous and complex, even more so than what he saw in the Guardian Pavilion's jade scrolls. There was more of it too. However, the eggshell was hollow. All that was left were those marvelous runes that were flashing and giving off light. There seems to be some egg white inside. The sacrificial altar belongs to the masters of creation. However, why did they visualize an egg? The ancient Celestial Emperor hatched from it, but the masters of creation could have just visualized a life form. There would be no need to visualize an egg and hatch the ancient Celestial Emperor from it. Qin Mu was confused. The ancient Celestial Emperor's birth was peculiar. Judging from his birthplace, the egg should have come first. The masters of creation got it from somewhere and found life in it, so they built a sacrificial altar for it. They sacrificed to it, causing power to flood into the egg so the life inside would hatch. However, the birth of the ancient celestial emperor also caused the masters of creation's fall and near extinction. They had to open another void and hide in the great void. However, this theory still had a lot of unsolved mysteries. Where did the egg come from? How could the egg birth such a powerful being like the ancient celestial emperor? Why did they gather so many masters of creation to hatch the ancient celestial emperor? Qin Mu felt that the celestial emperor replica couldn't take it, so he backed off to relieve the pressure. That cracked egg should be useful, should I take it? His gaze flashed as he tried to use the power in celestial emperor's corporeal body to retrieve the cracked eggshell. However, despite having power above the emperor's throne level, the magic power flooding out of celestial emperor's corporeal body was still pulverized by the purple great Tao light. Qin Mu frowned. The eggshell was there, yet none of the celestial heaven's 10 celestial venerables took it, suggesting that it was very hard to take. Although he could use the corporeal body's power, it couldn't withstand the pressure of the birthplace to reach the sacrificial altar. Could one retrieve it if they had the real body of celestial emperor? It still stuck in celestial venerable Ling's divine art, though. However, when his real body was still here, they didn't retrieve it. Could they have been worried that the eggshell would fall into another's hands? After the ancient celestial emperor died, the Heaven Alliance ceased to be united. Internal strife occurred, which explained why they couldn't take the eggshell when they controlled celestial emperor. No divine art in the world can be preserved here. Even the supreme consciousness realm can't deal with the pressure here. However, there is a divine art that can deal with the great Tao's purple light. Qin Mu's gaze flashed as he retrieved celestial venerable Ling's peachwood hairpin. Only celestial venerable Ling's divine art of unchanging substance could make the great Tao purple light and gas there go still. He used the power within celestial emperor's body to utilize the peachwood hairpin. With a gentle wave, the light flowing towards the eggshell stopped. Qin Mu was happy and strode forward towards the purple light. However, when he moved and touched the purple light, he felt the pain experienced by celestial emperor's corporeal body. This body was unable to withstand the light and gas, so when it touched them, many injuries appeared. Qin Mu frowned. He had to utilize the power in celestial emperor's corporeal body to maintain the unchanging substance divine art, yet there was little power he could utilize from the body. Can I reach the sacrificial altar with my own vital qi and consciousness? When he thought about that, his vital qi and consciousness flooded out, and he ran straight for the sacrificial altar. The sacrificial altar looked close, but was extremely far away. It looked bigger than him, and the cracked eggshell was bigger than his imagination too. Qin Mu's vital qi and consciousness merged, and he became extremely agile. When he reached the sacrificial altar, he tried to lift the eggshell. However, the eggshell, which still had egg white in it, was heavy. He couldn't move it at all. He turned to pull the other eggshell, and it moved. Qin Mu was delighted. He used his vital qi and consciousness to pull it bit by bit to the edge of the sacrificial altar. It fell off of the sacrificial altar, and onto the still purple light, as if it was floating on water. Qin Mu's heart pumped as he pulled it closer. The closer the eggshell was, the more of its power he felt. When he pulled it to his front, the eggshell was taller than Celestial Emperor's corporeal body, and he needed to look up to see it. Qin Mu was shocked, and before he could size up the rune imprints on it, he had to send it to the Qin word land. Boom. A loud rumble came from the Qin word land. The eggshell fell from the sky, but didn't land. Instead, it floated in the air, covering half of the landmass. Qin Mu felt that his third eye's vision became blurry. He could only see countless flashing runes and nothing else. This was because his third eye was weird. It used the Qin word land that earth counts horns formed as the iris and the ground primordium origin stone as the pupil. So, when Celestial Emperor's eggshell fell, it blocked his eyes. I have no other precious artifact to place this thing in, so I can only put it in the Qin word land. However, it isn't great that it blocks my vision. Qin Mu's heart tightened. There's nothing behind the Qin word land. Could I put it there? He didn't go for it immediately. He put back the peachwood hairpin first before backing off, until Celestial Emperor's corporeal body could take the pressure. He used Celestial Emperor's power, and flooded it into his third eye to shift the eggshell to the back of the Qin word land, hanging it in its center. Now, the eggshell became his third eye's glass ball. The light came in from the outside and passed through the grand primordium origin stone in the center of the Qin word land. The light then shone on the interior of the eggshell, and the runes on it were lit up. Then, a marvelous thing occurred. Qin Mu instantly felt that it was different seeing things with this eye. He could see the microscopic composition of everything, even that of the purple light. The composition of the great Tao purple light and gas was clearly reflected in his third eye. This extended even to that of his own consciousness. He looked down and saw Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. He originally couldn't see its composition, but now, it was clearly reflected in his pupil. He could even see the algebra composition of this replica body, even the marvels of creation. He looked at the sacrificial altar in the purple light. His gaze could cut through it and see the sacrificial altar clearly. This eggshell is useful. If only I could get the other one. Qin Mu shook his head. Currently, he lacked the power to move the other eggshell. Time is precious. I'm only borrowing this Celestial Emperor corporeal body. Although the 10 Celestial Venerables are paranoid about one another, they will surely discover the disappearance of Celestial Emperor's corporeal body quickly. I can't stay here for long. Qin Mu controlled the corporeal body and shut the eye in the heart of its brows, hiding within it before controlling it and walking back towards the Crown Prince of the East Palace. The eyes of the 10 Celestial Venerables were everywhere. They wouldn't need long to find Celestial Emperor's corporeal body after discovering its disappearance. He was going to borrow this body to inspect the Patriarch Creation Palace and the Hall of Fragrance, but he had to do it before they discovered him. The Crown Prince of the East Palace's eyes jumped when he saw his father approaching. Qin Mu walked over to him, and he bowed down, saying that word, father. Qin Mu stopped and looked at him vaguely. He opened his mouth and asked, "You discovered it?" A chill ran through the Crown Prince of the East Palace as his hair stood on end. He had almost escaped. "Your discovery means nothing," Qin Mu plainly said. "As one of the 10 Celestial Venerables, I don't care about a Crown Prince like you. Truth be told, your father, the ancient Celestial Emperor, is dead. You noticed that I neglected you for 40,000 years, and now you want to know why." He coldly said, "Your father has been dead for 40,000 years." The Crown Prince of the East Palace kneeled on the ground, clutching the purple light as his palm was ground to a bloody pulp. His body shivered. He wanted to rise up and kill the Celestial Venerable in front of him to avenge the ancient Celestial Emperor, but he knew how powerless he was in comparison. He knew he could never be a match for a Celestial Venerable. His rationality told him not to move, to suffer, for it was the only way to survive. Qin Mu coldly looked at him. After a while, he said, 40,000 years ago, your father died at our hands. We created this corporeal body to control the celestial heavens. The Crown Prince of the East Palace hoarsely asked, "Why?" "Why?" Qin Mu laughed. "Because this position gives us power. If you stay as an honest Crown Prince, you can still live. However, if you speak out, you will die." The Crown Prince of the East Palace was silent. He no longer shivered. Qin Mu waved his hand and plainly said, "I haven't found your Achilles heel yet." It's difficult to depose a crown prince, so I shall spare you. Head down and take care of yourself. The crown prince of the East Palace slowly stood up with tears in his eyes and slowly walked out, looking down. Stop, Qin Mu called out to him. The crown prince of the East Palace froze and stood there silently. Don't think about betraying us, or we will have a chance to depose you, understand? Qin Mu said. The crown prince of the East Palace nodded silently. Go on, Qin Mu said. The crown prince of the East Palace left, choking on his tears. Qin Mu gave a sigh of relief as he thought, if he really acted, given his power at the emperor's throne, I might not have been able to withstand it even while controlling this body. It's too huge, making it inconvenient to control. It's quite difficult to defeat a strong practitioner of the emperor's throne at his peak with this. Feeling rejuvenated, he walked out. First, I'll go to the Hall of Fragrance and see if I can retrieve the soul of Celestial Venerable Yu. After, I'll go to the Patriarch Creation Palace to see what kind of creation divine weapon could create so many blue fatties. He walked out of the Forbidden Zone and suddenly, a lady walked towards him. She wore gilded wing shoes and a red shirt that revealed her shoulders. She was tall and had half her breasts exposed. It was Heavenly Lady Qiong of the 10 Celestial Venerables. Qin Mu blinked and thought he was in trouble. Why are you here, Emperor? Heavenly Lady Qiong seductively sized him up before giggling. Qin Mu laughed back. My lady, this is my ancestral land, why are you here? Heavenly Lady Qiong smiled. You haven't entered the chambers of concubines for some time. Now that you've arrived, I would naturally wait for you. Unexpectedly, you came here instead of visiting me. Qin Mu had goosebumps all over him. Once he thought about how this Heavenly Lady Qiong could have come from the ancient Celestial Emperor's soul, he felt uncomfortable. Part 4:15 end here. Thank you for watching.